I want to ask you a question. You've all been doing RCAs and you've been doing. What is your approach? How are you doing it? First of all, how do you identify a case?
I think it's tricky because you've got to find out what your practice will permit in terms of booking people in. But initially, I just asked the receptionist not to book any administrative-esque patients in. But now, as I'm getting closer, I've blocked off slots so that I can take them over from the duty doctor list.
Very good. Did you hear what was that Thomas? That was
Tom. Yeah.
So what Tom's doing is exactly what I think everyone should be doing. You should be having blank screens, blank surgery screens, and you're picking off the on-call doctors list of people that you think would be good. All right. If you think someone's going to be hard on that list, please take it. Please take it. Because what I don't want you to do is take the crappy ones like otitis media and sore throats. Believe me, you're not going to get pass marks with otitis media and things like simple skin lesions. You're just not going to get them. All right. The general rule of thumb is if it's something a pharmacist could handle, this is my rule. If a pharmacist can do it, it's not going to get through. All right. Simple, straightforward hay fever is not going to get through. Simple, straightforward dry skin, you're not going to get it. Simple case of sore throat, ear problems, eye problems like conjunctivitis, not going to get through. All right. Sometimes you'll see something and you go, oh, that sounds a bit messy. Take it. Go and try it. All right. It's more likely to get through, more likely to demonstrate your skills. All right. So don't be scared of them. At least just try them. Okay. So that's one thing. So first thing is have empty surgeries and pick off the cases that you think would be good. If possible, this is what I do with my trainees. I tell them which cases I'm going to put on their screen. Because sometimes it's easier for people like me who are experienced to say, that's a possibility, that's a possibility, that's a possibility. And I did that because I did look at my trainees' screen. I have two trainees. I did look at my other trainees' things, and some of the ones that were put on her slot, I just knew straight away that they weren't going to be good enough. I could see it straight away they wouldn't be good enough. So sometimes it'd be good discussion to either say to the GP, especially if they're a GP trainer, all right, say, do you think that, can I take that one off your list? Do you think that would be a good one for me to do? Right, ask them. Because if you start off with a bad case, there's no point. You're not going to get any of this. So get your case selection right. Okay. So Tom, I'm going to pick on you. You're working with me on call, and I said to you, oh Tom, I've put this one on your screen. I think this one will be a really, really good one. She's feeling tired all the time. All right, and it's a new thing. I've looked at her notes. No one's gone through it before. Should be a good one. What will you do at that point?
I would go and look at the his records myself, check when their last investigations were, see if there's anything potentially in the documents that haven't necessarily been recorded in the consultations, because sometimes patients have had something happen and it hasn't been updated on their actual EMIS. And then if it's a subject I'm not entirely confident with, I'll jump onto nice CQS and have a read around it, maybe note down on a piece of paper the red flag questions to be asking, and then I would do the consultation.
Okay, that's a really good plan. Love your plan, which is first of all, look into the notes. And then the second of all, read up about it. Look in the notes, because you will find things in the patient's notes that will be relevant, and you'll be able to put it in the natural points, because it'll be sitting in your head and you'll be able to put it in the natural points. So you may well be talking about tiredness all the time. And you know, later on, when you've built rapport with this lady and you've taken a really good history and stuff like that, you may then turn around later on and say, oh, by the way, I noticed that about 2 years ago, you were going through a difficult period, weren't you? Because you became depressed. Is that all resolved now? And if she says, well, no, it's still going on. Are you still stressed out then? Oh, and what's stressing you out? Because you know that's relevant to this tiredness all the time. Do you see what I mean? So you may have noticed that she was, and then you might say, right, okay, so at that time you were treated with sertraline, an antidepressant. Oh, doctor, I stopped that ages ago. And then that's another cue thinking, oh, sugar, has she stopped her antidepressant? And is actually a tiredness all the time, her depression getting worse? And is this actually more mental health rather than anything medical? Do you see what I mean? It really directs you. All right. So that's why I say go through the notes, and you're looking for certain things that just flash at you and think, oh, I'll look into that. And then when you do come to doing the talking, show the examiner. I don't think it's just showing the examiner. I think it's just generally good practice. The more I look at RCA, the more I think it's really good practice to say to people, I've looked at your notes and I can see, right? Because that shows the examiner that you're looking at the notes, and that's very good. But not only that, how do you think a patient feels when they say to you, when you said to them, you tell me, what does the patient think when you say to them, I've had a look at your notes and I've noticed? What would that make a patient feel? Jade, how would it make people feel?
Listen to. So yeah, just make them feel like you've really listened, sort of, you've taken time to sort of look into their history and know about them.
Feel a bit special. Oh my goodness, he's looked into my notes. What does that to do to your rapport at that stage?
It builds it massively.
Yeah, instant boost, instant rapport builder. All right, so do remember that. So when you see stuff in the notes that's relevant, say, I noticed from your notes when I was looking at your notes. And I think it's a really good, I mean, I look at RCA and I've been doing tons of RCA stuff. And I've learned so much from RCA that I think I can use in my own consulting after 20 years to improve that. You know, it's phenomenal. I think it's just phenomenal. Okay, so that's first thing, is all signposts that you've looked it up and you notice this and link things through. All right, so that's the first thing. Look at the medical records, look for bits of things that may be relevant. Then go to CKS or GP notebook, whichever one you want to do, and just have a brief look at that subject from a symptom-based point of view, So she's done tiredness all the time, put in tiredness all the time, and roughly map out. And when you write it on a piece of paper, it should not be like this. Let me show you. It should not be like that, right? If it's like that, you will not cover all of that. You'll be too focused on that and it will ruin your consultation. So do not do that. Do not make detailed notes. I just want you to make like chapter headings of the areas you want to look at. So instead, it should look like that. Just 5 areas you might want to explore, just to nudge you. And just write one or two word things. Don't be writing sentences out. Just write 1 or 2 word lines so that you can occasionally glimpse. And because what I'd hate to happen is that you've written it all down and you're so concerned about covering all of this that it wrecks the natural flow. And I guarantee you it will. All right. So remember, just write down 1 or 2 liners, perhaps 5 areas that you mustn't forget. All right. And that's it. And then go and do it. And do it for every condition, no matter how good you are at it, because you'll miss something. Right, you really will. All right, and then you take your call and then you start doing that, and in that way you can bet your bottom dollar you're going to cover most of the data gathering quite nicely. And also, because you've structured it like that, all right, you now know your signposts. You can say, okay, so in order to work out what's going on with your moods, can I ask you what's been going on in your life? Is there anything that's been going on in your life that's triggered this? And how's work? Okay, and your relationship and your finances. Do you see? You know how to signpost, because that will be your signpost almost. So that's why I developed this desktop sheet. So I'll share it with you again. It's only on one side of A4.
Yeah, can read it.
Okay, so that's one side of A4. So case selection. Look at the on-call list. Look for acute cases, not reviews. Select complex cases, not simple ones. Don't run away. I asked one of my trainees, why didn't you select that case? And they said, well, it just looked too complicated. I said, you never know that until you're there. I don't want you to run away. I want you to handle it, because in the real world, you have to handle it anyway. At some point, you're going to have to handle it, even when you qualify. So don't run away. Go and take it. All right. Look up the topics on CKS or GP notebook or CSA symptom sorter. So the type of things you are looking at, what are the differentials? Data gathering. Are there any key questions that you need to cover? What are the red flags not to miss? And what's the latest management on this clinical management? That's all you want to know. You don't need to write all these down. You can keep them in your head. All right, if you looked at the clinical management and said, yeah, I knew that. Oh yeah, okay, fair enough, I need to do that. All right, now you know it. You don't need to write that down because you know it in your head. You know it. But if for the differentials you go, oh, there's 5 differentials I need to cover. I hope I don't forget that one. I know what, I'll just write the 5 areas and that's the areas I'm going to stick on the paper. But for everything else, I can keep in my head. Yeah, let's move on. Write the essential history. I'm going to change that. I don't want you to write it out. I just want you to develop your own mental plan. And oh yeah, can I talk about number 3? I've been talking to a couple of examiners in quite some detail. And this is about prepping the patient. The examiners don't like it if you've prepped the patient. if you've got a consultation and it's a musculoskeletal problem, and you say, "Hi, John. Hi, thanks for doing this video call with me." "Oh, it's not it's not a problem, Dr. Mehay. By the way, like you said when you called me earlier on, I've put a t-shirt on and some shorts. Is this okay?" "Yeah, that's fine, John. Let's start." Do you see what I mean? They actually don't like that because they think you've prepped the patient. What else did you talk about in that first call? Right? They want these to have no contact, almost virtually no contact, other than the consent. All right, that's what they want. But I think this is a bit unfair, really, because I do think it's a bit unfair. I said, at the end of the day, you don't want them to prep the patient. But in real life, I prep my patients all the time. All right. I have on my screen, all right, if it says back pain, I won't call them, but I'll text them and say, "I'm going to be calling you shortly. Please, can you put on t-shirts and shorts, because I may want to do some examination and movements with you over the video." All right. I said, I would do that ordinarily. Why can't our trainees who are doing the RCA, why can't they do that? And the response was, well, what other information have they gathered in that thingamajig and that they're going to go through again, which is unfair. So there is a way to prepare the patient. And I think if you need to prepare the patient, get reception staff to do it. Right. In that way, you've not been involved. All right. So if you've got a patient that is back pain, ask receptionist, "Can you just give them a quick call? That I'm going to give them a ring in 10 minutes. But actually, would you ask them that if there's an examination of a joint, if there's an examination involved, we like patients in a t-shirt and shorts so that they can move about freely." You know, develop a phrase for receptionists to use. Right, develop a phrase. All right, and then the receptionist can say, "Hi, John. Hi, it's Samantha here from the surgery. Yes, you're going to call, Dr. Mehay is going to call you shortly about your back pain, just letting you know. But also, because it may involve an examination, as a practice, we generally say that if an examination is involved, we'd like you wearing a t-shirt and a shirt, and to find a private area so that you're not interrupted in case Dr. Mehay wants to do an examination. Is that okay?" "Yeah, that's fine. Okay, bye." Because if John now rings up, John might say, "Oh, hi, Dr. Mehay. Hi, is this okay?" I said, "Yes, John. Oh, it's just that Samantha from the receptionist, she rang up saying that as you put shorts and t-shirts on, because the practice likes shorts and t-shirts on if an examination's involved." Examiners won't have a problem with that. All right, they won't have a problem with that. All right, but they will have a problem if you have, because they might think, "Well, how much data have you gathered?" So try not to have that conversation. Let the practice do it. Yep. And I would strongly urge that you do have that system in place, because there's nothing worse than wasting time on a consultation. Imagine this. So, "John, right, okay, I need to bend you over to see how much your spine moves." And he says, "Doctor, I'm covered in all this. It's really difficult with these. Would you mind if you just give me a moment just to take this jacket off and my jumper, because it'd be easier for me to move? And these shoes are killing me. Can I just take them off?" And John's going to take 3 minutes taking all these off. And it's 3 minutes of your RCA. So if someone was saying to me, "I've got an ankle problem," and I know it says an ankle problem, I would get receptionists to ring them and say, "Dr. Mehay, we'll ring you shortly. Because it's an ankle joint that you're talking about, can you just make sure that you've got some shorts on so that Dr. Mehay can look at your ankles and your knees?" And if the patient says, "Well, why the knees?" So sometimes the knees can interfere with the ankles and vice versa. You know what I'm getting at. All right, so let me share the screen again, and let's have a look at the other ones. Oh yeah, so just before the call, so then I've written here, just before the call, put a timer on your desk, or at least have a timer. You're only looking for the 5-minute stage. That's the only thing you're looking for. You're not looking at what time it is. You're looking for the 5-minute stage, because by the 5-minute stage, you've got 1 minute left and you should be moving on to the clinical management and explanation. All right. So make sure your time is there. Make sure this crib sheet's there for you to look to. And also, oh, can I suggest a psychological trick? All right. This really, really helps. All right. You will be nervous because you're being examined. All right. A good psychological trick is for you to smile. Either smile or think of something that you like. Maybe you've got a pussycat. All I'm asking you to do is think of your pussycat or someone you like, someone you love, someone you care about, or a holiday that you've enjoyed, or just something nice for 5 seconds, only 5 seconds. Believe me, as soon as you've got a smile on your face, you're ready to talk. And the more your conversation will be natural, and the more you will not trip over yourself. Then at the beginning, have an opening statement. I hope you've all got your opening statement now, but I've given you an example here. All right. Consent should have been done beforehand. You just need to double check. And we're going the next time we're going to talk about this 7-point plan and a few other things. So is that prep sheet something that you think will help you? And I would suggest keeping it on your desk just to quickly go through with every patient. Just make sure you've got this list. Have I done that? Yep. I'm in a ready enough state. That's it.